Welcome to the Mill Creek Government Channel. I'm Judy Zelina, and today on our program we're going to be talking about one of my favorite subjects, and that is food. And who can tell us everything we ever wanted to know about food but Janice Ronan from Penn State. She's the Extension Educator and Family and Consumer Sciences, Penn State Cooperative Extension.
That's right, Judy.
Okay, and we have Judy Helcom, both familiar faces. Judy is a retired RN who keeps trying to retire, but we won't let her.
Coming back, yes, right.
I know. But one thing about having these two ladies on the program, and I'm sure viewers, you know, they really give us some great ideas and some healthier eating tips, and that's exactly what we're here today. Judy, what are we going to be talking about today?
Gee, I wasn't sure when I came on the show exactly. We're talking about food games. Now, do you know what a food game is?
Now, I of course would say,
okay,
I don't play food games. I have no idea what you're talking about.
So you do know what a food game is, like a mind game that we play, right?
Right.
Not a food fight, right, Judy?
Not a food fight, right? Like we did as kids.
Yes.
Oh wow! Did
in the
that bring
school
back
cafeterias?
Memories? Oh my goodness, yes. Right. But a food game is really any attitude, belief, or behavior that prevents us from achieving a goal that we're striving for. So just think of it as a barrier to healthful living. I mean, it's not just food, it's other things that we play games all the time, okay? But now some people do not set goals. Have you noticed there are people that just plug ahead or do what they've been doing on automatic pilot, as I say? If you don't have a goal, it's really easier to play these mind games. Think about it for a second. If you don't know where you're going, then anything that happens in between all this stuff, you know, you're not going to pay too much attention to.
Okay.
But then some of us have goals. Let's take the biggie for most of us, especially as we get older. I've put on several pounds and I need to lose weight. Okay, isn't that what you hear a lot of people saying? But what do they do when they get into these mind games? They sabotage themselves. You know, they identify a goal that I want to lose weight,
all right,
but yet they'll give you an excuse. I have to bake at least once a week because my husband loves sweets. Well, now wait a minute. You have a goal, which is trying to lose weight, unless you possibly don't think you're going to bake all this stuff and yet not eat it. There are some people that are like that. I don't know, not too many.
Not me.
But using excuses of other people are the problem, okay? Or I'm going to a buffet. Why do they have to have all this good food there? Blaming it on the food or the party or the environment. That's tricky stuff. That's getting into full-time mind games.
But when you talk about mind games,
yes,
like with anything else with food,
okay,
there are triggers, aren't there?
Yes, right.
And what would be some of the triggers that would lead us into food games?
Okay, I think a lot of it comes back to letting ourselves off the hook and not holding ourselves accountable for our behaviors. You know, we're blaming the people, the places, the things, the situations that get us into these bad behaviors or somehow justify them or make them okay, rather than saying, I have control over what I put into my mouth, into my body, how much I eat, what I eat, and I am the one ultimately responsible for those actions. So really holding ourselves accountable and not letting ourselves off the hook.
And also triggers, when I think of triggers, think of all your senses. If we had a piece of strawberry cheesecake sitting in front of the three of us right now, would it have any effect on you, Judy? Janice?
Would me, yes.
Okay. Positive or negative?
Oh, positive.
In other words, are you going to want it because you saw it?
Yes, and I'm going to be very sad that I'm going to have to offer to split it with you guys.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
No, but it would. Yes, it's a positive.
All right. Now, let's take a different scenario.
All right.
We have some beautiful carrots, raw carrots sitting on a plate. Now, does that have the same effect to you, either of you, as strawberry cheesecake would?
For me, it doesn't
Okay.
have the same effect.
It wouldn't be as appealing.
I could
to
walk
you.
right past it.
Okay.
Yeah, see, I'd be ready to munch those.
You'd be ready to munch them.
Yeah.
She's
Ah,
so good.
wow. Okay.
This is why they invite me to these shows.
But the same thing with the strawberry shortcake or cheesecake or that. So, you know, for me, it's about a lot about having the better choices available. Because if I've got both in my refrigerator and I open the door, then I'm not sure which one I would choose.
Yeah.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And a trigger could just be a thought or some hearing. Somebody is talking about strawberry cheesecake, potato chips, or whatever your weakness happens to be. And you click into it immediately. So sometimes touching a product, it just depends. Oh, wow, that piece of cake spun light. Oh yeah, I can already taste it. So I think the more the senses are involved,
Right.
the more triggers that present themselves
Okay.
in that regard.
And we were talking before we started taping today too about the fact that so much more is involved in food and our reaction to it than just the food and the nutrition, you know, and the obvious things. It's all the memories that they bring to us, good and bad, the context that we're eating those foods in. All of those things play on what our reaction's going to be to that particular food. So it's a pretty involved process that quickly goes through our mind before we're reaching for that cheesecake or the cookies or the chips or the carrots or whatever it might
Yes,
be.
right.
You know, I never realized until I'm talking with you. Like you said, everything that briefly, it goes through our mind. But my location where I'm sitting
There you
is,
go.
am I comfortable?
Yes.
Am I with someone I'm comfortable with?
Yes.
I mean, all this depends on how much I'm going to eat,
There you
or
go.
if I'm going to
Yeah.
eat, or if I'm even going to have any appetite for that food.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
So it's environmental. It's
It's
Yeah.
a combination.
That would be another
Do you ever
trigger.
notice when you're having a bad day? I mean, most people tend, if they're under a lot of stress, tend to turn to food.
Food is always our friend. Isn't
Well,
that how we?
this is,
Yeah.
Right.
This is it. And so, but automatic pilot, you know how I always use that term. We are on automatic pilot. It's like, do we deliberately stop and say, strawberry cheesecake? Oh, yes. Oh, it's an automatic response.
Right.
But could you have the same response to carrots or pick something else more helpful? The answer to that is yes.
Yes, you could.
Okay,
Yes.
but you have to make a deliberate effort
All right.
and get out of that automatic mode.
Okay.
And most people do not look at these situations and try to change their thought process, if you will, or their reaction.
What are some of the steps we could take to try and change our thought process? Because talking with you, honestly, I'm a big food game player, not realizing that I was. But I mean, talking with you, I mean, I
Well, like what? Give us an example. And then we'll say, well, had you considered this strategy? But what's one of the games you play?
well, truly, like when we were talking environmental, I mean, I have to be in a comfortable atmosphere. If I'm in some place that is not clean, doesn't have good atmosphere to it, and I'm very uncomfortable in it, I'm not going to eat that food. Now, if I'm in a very luxurious, say I'm on vacation, you know, in that type of a setting, and you can even do that here in town someplace, I will tend to eat more because I'm comfortable. This is comforting. I'm enjoying the company that I'm with.
Now, to just play devil's advocate, thinking about myself and my reaction to what you just said.
Okay.
If I'm in an uncomfortable atmosphere where there's food, I will take more food. The reason being, because then I don't have to worry about talking so much with if there's somebody that I'm uncomfortable with because I'm busy eating, and most people, will concentrate. So now, two different reactions.
Exactly.
Why is that?
Right.
Well, it's the way I cope with uncomfortableness versus how you might cope.
When you think about it in that setting like you just described, Judy, food kind of functions the same way that people that smoke frequently talk about. It gives you something to do.
Yes.
The old jokes about somebody that's standing outside of their building at work is considered to be doing something, as opposed to somebody who's just literally standing there. So sometimes I think in situations we use food the same way that somebody might use alcohol or cigarettes as something to do. It's another hand-mouth activity.
Exactly. Yeah. So.
Okay, and then how would someone get over something like this? If I don't recognize what's on my plate, there is no way I am going to eat that.
Meaning, okay, give me
if it doesn't look good, then it can't possibly taste.
If it doesn't look good.
And I don't recognize it. Say it's a dish that I have never had before in my life.
Okay.
And it's not pretty.
Okay.
I mean, it has.
So the appearance of food is really important to you.
Visually,
for
first
me.
of all. Okay.
Then I automatically assume, without even thinking that I'm doing this, I will automatically assume, well, it can't taste good.
Then if somebody...
And I'll flip it aside on my plate and eat just the item that I recognize.
If you asked somebody what was in there then, and they told you what was in there, then
I was just going to say,
what would your reaction be after that?
I'd say, okay, well, maybe I'll try it.
Okay.
Okay.
I mean, if it was something that I liked, if it was an item in there that I didn't like, because there are some foods that I really just don't care for.
Okay.
And if I knew that was in there, and then I'd say, no, I don't really care for that. So I won't even try it, which is wrong on my part, because mixed with the different items, it could be very tasty.
Right. And how about if your eyes were closed? You said, just this once, I'm not going to look,
I would probably
I'm going to
eat
taste.
I would probably taste
And
it
go
if my
by.
eyes were closed. So visual has a lot to do with food triggers.
Gosh, absolutely.
Well, and that's, again, coming back to Judy's mention of the senses. The food plays on most of our senses. Smell, taste, visual, touch, and that all come into play when we're, But what are some of the things then, your reactions that, in terms of making a better choice versus a less healthy choice, that influence whether you're going to try that?
Yes.
Is there anything that's going on there with you?
You mean to pick foods that are a better choice health-wise for me?
Right.
I do try and do that.